Let's get into this week. Let's get into the PGA Tour pin placement here. That is what the segment is called. So where will the following golfers finish at the Rocket Mortgage Classic? It's in Detroit. This is a bomber's paradise here, dude. You can just look at what defending champ, our dude, Bryson DeChambeau, did here last year. Where does he finish this week, do you think? What was his winning score? Minus 23 last year.
Yeah, we've seen, I mean, look, the last two winning scores here have been minus 25, minus 23. So it gives you an idea of what's ahead here. This course is set up very easy for the pros. I mean, it's got wide fairways to begin with. They don't cut them down. The rough, even when it is up, because the fairways are so easy to hit, that it just hasn't affected the player's ability to score here. So someone needs to go low. And quite frankly, I think Bryson can do this again. I really do. I mean, this is a guy who's been extremely consistent. We've seen with the putter lately, his birdie rate is up there. Even when he's not playing that well around the green, Emerson, he's got a couple top 20s here in his last few starts. I mean, he is sharpened up there around the green game. And again, it may not have been coming to play that much, with given the course here. Again, easier to hit greens, easier to hit fairways. The approach game has actually been there for Bryson. Does it need to take a slight uptick? Yes, but he can get hot on these greens. I think you have to pencil Bryson in for a top 5 here. It would not shock me in the least if he went back-to-back this year either. Someone's going to have to get real hot to take him down, I think.
All right. What do you think about Jason Day? I was watching him over the weekend. It was like hurting my back. I felt like I was 90 years old, like just watching him walk around that course in Connecticut.
I mean, it was crazy to see him jump out there in front of the lead. I mean, you thought once the weekend came around, like, this probably isn't going to last. And unfortunately, that prediction came to fruit. I mean, T10, it's a good finish for Jason Day, just considering how, he had 3 missed cuts, T44 at the PGA. Like, his game isn't that far off. But like you said, there's clearly a health issue. And I'm not sure how you can pencil in a guy to have a massive week at an event where you've got to take care of all your opportunities. You almost have to go bogey free at this event if you're going to win. I think Jason Day, he gained over 3 strokes around the green and with the putter at the Travelers. He's very consistent with those clubs, but I just don't think there's enough there with the ball striking. So I'm actually going to pencil him in for a missed cut. I'm going to be negative Nelly here, just saying that I think that was a 1-week blip. Like you said, he doesn't still look 100% healthy. And I think that with the birdie rate you need at this event, I think I could easily see Jason Day just missing the cut this week.
Dude, is there a rule against having a caddy seriously help you take the ball out of the cup in the end? Because that just looked really uncomfortable for him.
Yeah, it looks uncomfortable. It looks uncomfortable, like you said, for the viewer. But yeah, I don't know if there's a rule. I'm actually not sure.
Okay, great, good. I knew you would know everything. I have no clue either, and apparently neither does anybody else. Matthew Wolff, what do you think about him? I know he's been a golfer. You and I have talked about a lot about him recently. You've been pretty high on this dude.
I really like Matt Wolff long term. I mean, short term, obviously we're in a funk here. I mean, he broke out of it a bit at the U.S. Open. That was really nice to see. Gained 6 strokes off the tee at the U.S. Open, over 4 strokes putting. But then last week, he lost strokes everywhere, and it was just a really tough opening round. He bounced back a bit in the second round, though, and I'm of the opinion, obviously Matt Wolff came in here last season. He was also in a funk when he came into this event last season, finished solo second to Bryson. He really got it going here, gained over 2 strokes off the tee and on approach. I think you're going to see Matt Wolff bounce back. I think he gained some kind of confidence at the U.S. Open. Now, you didn't see it at the Travelers. That's okay. But, I don't think that you necessarily saw him, get super negative. I mean, his second round there was actually slightly encouraging. So I'm going to pencil Matt Wolff in here for like a top 15. Maybe I'm going to, I'm even going to go more bullish. I'm going to say a top 10. I think, saying that he's going to win the event, probably he's a little bit far off, but I think he bounces back here. This is the type of course Matt Wolff can just wheel and deal off the tee. He's not going to have to worry about spraying it too much. And, again, the round the green game isn't that super important this week. If he can just find some confidence on the greens, which he did here last year, I think he could be in for a nice week. I think he's going to be an interesting GPP play for DraftKings Daily Fantasy too.
Wait a minute. Bry Guy behind the scenes says, all right, it's a new rule under Rule 14.1b. The player's caddy is allowed to mark and lift the player's ball on the putting green anytime the player is allowed to do so without needing authorization. The caddy continues to be allowed to replace the player's ball only if the caddy was the one who had lifted or move the ball.
There you go. Bump up Jason Day like 5 spots. Give him a T65 instead of a miscut, I guess. Yeah.
That's right. How about Bubba Watson? He teed off in that final group with Jason Day, and Bubba was trying to win this tournament or last week for the 4th time. So how do we feel about him this week? Is he riding a little bit of momentum?
I think he is. I mean, it's obviously a really disappointing finish, but you know, we saw after the event, Bubba said it himself. He was in position to win. He's very happy with that. You know, you saw him implode a little bit at the U.S. Open after, you know, in the 3rd round as well. But again, this is a player who's, you know, clearly he's chipping away here. You know, it was last week at the U.S. Open. It was after 2 rounds, at the Travelers after 3 rounds. But, you know, he gained over 2 strokes off the tee and on approach here. He's another player. He's just going to be able to bomb it out there, you know, off the tee and not worry too much about, you know, having to like, you know, fit it in tiny slots in the fairway or anything. This is really just comes down to this week. Can Bubba figure out around the greens and on the greens? And he has been a pretty traditionally good POA putter, like at Riviera, and even last week at the Travelers, another POA greens. You know, we're going to see like bentgrass POA on the greens here. It's not that big a deal, but I'm actually kind of bullish on Bubba this week. Again, I think that he's going to show up at the very least, post another solid win. Can he get to like 25 under? I don't know if Bubba's there at this point in his career. We can win these outright birdie fests. Maybe needs a bit of a tougher course, but I'm going to pencil him in for a good week. Like Matt Wolff will say top 15. I think he's definitely turned a corner in terms of play. And I think this is a player you should start to think about trusting for daily fantasy. So.
Will Zalatoris, what do you know? Talk to me.
I don't really know much about what is bothering Will Zalatoris right now. I do know he's been absolute nightmare on the greens lately. He's lost strokes in 5 straight events. He's lost over 2 strokes on the greens in his last 2 starts, including the U.S. Open, but the Charles Schwab Classic as well, with which, you know, traditionally fairly straightforward bentgrass greens. So it's not a good look. And the problem with Zalatoris right now is his approach game has also taken a downtick. So, you know, if you don't have that elite approach game to bail you out, how are you going to make up for it on the greens? I think you're going to see a bounce back from Zalatoris fairly quickly. Like this isn't a player I'm worried about, but I don't know. Can he come in here and get to 25 under and win this event with a putter that's been ice cold? I don't think so. I'm going to pencil him in for a made cut. We'll say T25. I just think that around the green, the putter, it's probably not going to be sharp enough to do what needs to be done this week, which is basically sink every putt. So probably a bounce back just because his approach game is so elite, but I'm not hyper bullish on him here.